kelp is so much more than just a seaweed. It's one of the most nutrient-dense foods on the planet, packed with minerals, vitamins, and antioxidants. It can potentially contribute to slowing down global warming, absorbing carbon dioxide, minimizing ocean acidification, and can be used in food, fertilizers, textiles, bioplastics, and biofuels. While some of the biggest kelp species grow naturally on South Africa's west coast, the quantities that can be responsibly harvested don't meet current or future demand. But with vast, good quality marine water space that's underutilized for marine aquaculture, there's an immense opportunity to develop a financially and environmentally sustainable kelp farming industry in South Africa. To explore this opportunity, the South African Kelp Farming Project was commissioned by the UK Foreign Commonwealth and Development Office, supported by the Department of Forestry, Fisheries and the Environment, and implemented by the Bivalve Shellfish Farmers Association of South Africa.
The project originally started with a phase 1 pre-feasibility study, and the pre-feasibility study demonstrated potential for kelp farming, and I recommended that we trial the 3 local species in Saldanha Bay, particularly because Saldanha Bay is an already established aquaculture development zone with oyster and mussel farming infrastructure, which is exactly what we will need for a kelp farming industry. Currently, we're busy with phase 2 feasibility study, and the objective is to investigate the methods that would be used to establish a sustainable farming of Eclonia maxima, Laminaria pallida, and Macrocystis pyrifera, particularly because those species are typical of the West Coast.
We have 3 kelp species on the West Coast. The simplest one is this one, and this is Laminaria. It has the split fan kelp. As you can see, it has a single blade with splits. And then this is our main kelp on the West Coast. This is Eclonia maxima, the sea bamboo, and it has a more complicated structure. It has a main blade and lots of secondary blades off the side. And it also has a hollow stipe, which becomes a float, which holds it up to the sea. I don't know if you can see, but behind me, there's a floating kelp forest of sea bamboo. And then much rarer on our coast is this interesting kelp, which is called Macrocystis. Elsewhere in the world, it's called giant kelp, can grow very big. And it's a much more complicated structure with lots of blades, with each blade with its own float. And it grows in a different way. It grows from the tip rather than from lower down.
This is Laminaria pallida, and this darker patch over here is the source material, which is what we're looking for. This is Macrocystis pyrifera.
The fertile material would be at the bottom by the holdfast, which is usually stuck to a rock.
So we're looking for the source tissue, which is this lighter color over here. And that's got the sporangium, which produce the spores. And we are going to release the spores from the sporangium back in the hatchery. 1 blade's worth of spores can produce millions of spores.
The exciting part of this project is that we are collaborating with various different role players locally, industry, academia, government, ourselves and other government entities, as well as having the support and the collaboration with the UK.
It's part of our broader collaboration with the government, particularly with the Department for Fisheries, Forestry and the Environment. We work with them on a number of issues. The reason we're so excited about kelp is just because of the role that kelp does play in a whole host of climate benefits and health benefits, supporting the local aquaculture industry, supporting job creation and livelihoods, and that's also a big focus for us here in terms of creating economic growth opportunities. So it's both about the kelp, but it's also about the bigger picture.
The goal of the South African Kelp Farming Project is to explore the possibility of farming with kelps on the west coast of South Africa. In terms of the deliverables and what we've achieved, it was actually quite significant in a very short period of time. We've essentially figured out how to do all 3 species within the hatchery, and we can confidently say that we can do that within 2 months. And then at Grout, we have trialed different structures, and we feel that vertical droppers would be most effective, but still we need to do further research, which is why we need a pilot study, because the trick is not just to know how to do it, but also to do it with a profit.
What we're hoping to achieve is a number of things. We're hoping to stimulate local industry in places like Saldanha. We're hoping to prove the viability of kelp farming because of the wider benefits that will have not only on the west coast of South Africa, but also, if we get it right here, then in other coastal regions around the world. And again, I think we keep coming back to the familiar themes of the climate benefits and the health benefits, but also the local economic development benefits. And if we get all those three things right, then I think we'll have done a very good thing.
Kelps have large-scale environmental benefits, the natural kelp forest. What they do is they take up nutrients. The major nutrients that people and industry puts into the sea can be removed, particularly nitrogen and phosphorus, by seaweeds. And so a kelp forest takes things out. You don't feed it, it's extractive, it removes excess nutrients that are put in by other processes. So it has big benefits. And in Saldanha Bay, we also have mussel and oyster farms. So these systems have the potential to work together where material that's lost from waste from the animal farms can be retaken up and recirculated and recycled by a seaweed farm.
Well, BASASA is a non-profit voluntary association. Mussel and oyster farming being what it is, we use much of the same hardware and infrastructure and know-how, and we have crews that do things out at sea. Kelp farming could tie in with, for example, mussel farming, in that it provides another crop for the mussel farm. The knowledge that we're looking for from this project would be kelp knowledge. We know about mussels and we know about oysters. We know nothing about kelp.
So the department has been involved from the initiation of this project and is involved both from a strategic aspect, providing scientific advice and support, and we provide the research aquarium as a basis for the hatchery aspects and trials in order to make it accessible to the existing industry and any potential new entrants, and provide an access to training and capacity development.
Part of our journey in this project was to also look at how we can involve the communities, the coastal communities in the area. And to do this, we collaborated with the United Nations Development Program's community workshops. Our own initiatives included capacity building and skills development within the younger generation, particularly focused at students and research assistants, and it's a wonderful opportunity for them to develop skills. And those skills, they were not only used in the kelp industry, they could potentially go into any of the aquaculture sectors with those skills.
The hatchery component of the whole project is the first stage of growing seaweed, and we will go out into the field and collect spores from kelps, which are microscopic. We'll settle those onto spools, which is a PVC tube wrapped in a seeding string, and we will monitor the growth under different conditions in a controlled environment or a laboratory, and until the kelps reach a size in which they can be outplanted.
So basically in the hatchery is the part where we are trying to get the microscopic spores into sporophytes. To date we have all 3 species on droppers.
My job is to harvest the blades of the kelp and then take it back to the laboratory, and then I would have a look at all the organisms on the blades, so that we can have an idea of whether they are influencing the quality of the kelp.
What I do is fairly simple, collecting water samples and identifying phytoplankton species that are surrounding the kelp. So usually what happens is we make use of a Niskin bottle. You put it into the water at various depths and it closes up, and then you take that out of the water and we fill different bottles.
Today we're going to be doing in-water measurements of 2 species, Microcystis porifera and Laminaria pallida. So we're going to jump in the water with Francis, my colleague, and we'll measure the total length of each species at the different depths.
So when we put it out at sea, they were anywhere between 0.5 and 1 centimeter, and now they're going to be about 1 meter, which is really exciting to see.
We're trying to untangle them so that the girls can measure 6 plants at each depth so that we can get a vertical profile.
I would like to take a look at what happened with the biofouling, because we do have a bit of an issue with biofouling in Saldanha Bay. So maybe look at the impact of mussels on the kelps themselves, the impacts of other biofouling on the kelps.
The project has created a lot of opportunities for me personally. I've learned a lot of things, I've met a lot of people, and I've kind of went places also. Personally, I feel that I've grew a lot as an individual because of this project.
This opportunity has created so many openings for me, both educationally, on skills, practically. I'm such a believer in growth, personal growth, so that part I've enjoyed. I've enjoyed how I've interacted with people, teaching people, learning from people.
I believe Kelp can have a role in the economy and job creation. Already this project has been able to upskill a lot of people, myself included.
I think there's definitely a space for a kelp industry in South Africa.
There are more opportunities that are opening up. This has been an amazing learning experience.
I've learned so much about it now, and I'm really invested in what the power of kelp can do.
I think that this is an opportunity that, the science field is still, opening up.
The seaweed revolution is happening in the Western world, and people are getting interested in seaweeds. So I think there's a huge, exciting move towards using seaweeds in the West, which has already happened in East Asia, particularly over the last 50 years. So I think it's a really exciting time for a seaweed biologist.
Phase 1 and Phase 2 to date has been funded by UK International Development via the FCDO, supported by DFFE, but implemented by the Bivalve Shellfish Farmers Association of South Africa.
I think the really important thing here is that we are bringing together those three different groups, the private sector, the governments on both sides, and also academia and the science and the research that goes into this. Because actually only by those three parties working together can we really maximise the benefits of the research that we're doing and the benefits that will flow from it in terms of job creation, as well as the wider climate and health benefits.
South Africa has a huge diversity of natural resources, and the Kelp project is a perfect example of sustainable utilization of our natural resources.
The research results and evidence generated from the South African kelp farming project will be made available to all interested parties, including the aquaculture industry, the public and local communities. Ultimately, it's laying the foundation to develop a successful, sustainable kelp farming industry in South Africa.